Excuse me. Anyway. Let me think. Depression land, anxiety land. Depression is kind of slightly better lately, like maybe in the last week or two. It was bad for a couple of months there. The anxiety is really kind of like in the rear its ugly head every now and again, though, usually when it's least convenient. Like there was this one day I went out to the grocery store with my mother. It was Saturday, so of course it was a little bit crowded, but just the lights and the people and everything, like I almost had a panic attack at least twice, possibly a third time. I was sort of heading into it, and then I pretty much cut it off because by that point I was at a part of the grocery store that not many people were in and wasn't as bright, so that one didn't really start to happen as much. But fact of the matter is, I spent the whole trip panicky, trying to compose myself, wanting to get away from all those people and all those lights so fucking bad. And then when I started swearing at like some idiot dude who I had to put my things in the back seat because it was my mother's stuff wasn't in the trunk, and some idiot was like waiting to pull into the parking spot where I clearly had my car. I was clearly unloading it into the car, and I couldn't move. And so anyway, I started like freaking out and swearing, and my mother's like, "I'm never taking you anywhere again." And I'm like, "Mom, like you have no idea how hard that was for me. Like to you this is normal and you can handle it, but for me, like I just almost had like 3 panic attacks in there. Like, and this is why, you know." And then I brought up the whole, this is why I don't tell you things, because you don't get it, and that's just my mother, though. My mother's never gonna get it. I've given up trying. It's kind of troublesome, actually, because, I still hold a huge grudge. Because basically she emotionally neglected me without meaning to, but she still did it. She'd never admit to it. She'd be like, what are you talking about? Whatever, But, and she'll be like, oh, but we tried, we knocked on your door, we tried, blah, blah, blah. But you know what? By the time I was 13, 14, 15, I knew what you were all about. I wasn't going to let you in. I wasn't that stupid, The time to earn a person's trust is when they're 6 years old and they've just said they're never going to tell you anything again. It's pretty easy to earn the trust of a 6-year-old, you would think. Especially if she's your child. But she never earned my trust again. I never trusted her again. Not ever. I never told her anything again. I think that's a sign. Not about me, but about her. I mean, what 6-year-old wouldn't really easily trust their mother again after their mother said, I won't do that ever again to you, and then kept her word? How hard is that? I mean, really, how hard is that? She could have done it. She chose not to. Why, I don't know. Sometimes I suspect my mother's like a really high-functioning Asperger person. Or maybe, I know she's had trauma in her life and shit like that, and then, she wanted to do something, and she did, now she's doing something she doesn't, she thinks it's okay, but she doesn't, love her job or anything. So it's like trying to kind of make her life better, even though she can't make it better, by denying how she really feels about a lot of things, like within herself. So she's got this whole, it's a set of armor that has 1,000 million trillion tiny layers, like Bible paper thin, but when she puts it on, it's just a suit that it's impenetrable. She even doesn't want to get into it or out of it. She doesn't want to tear it open. She patches up any holes that may try to get in. She has to maintain this worldview that she has, otherwise she's going to be absolutely fucking miserable, and she can't handle that. She can't handle feeling bad. I've learned this, because I've spent years, and I'm still spending time being a psych patient. I had lots of hospitalizations last year, more than I had in the years previous to that, and she couldn't handle it. She pulled away. She, might come to visit once and then never come again. She didn't want to spend much time in the hospital. It all made her uncomfortable, so she couldn't do it. She wouldn't suffer a little discomfort for me, who meanwhile, I was fucking, like, suicidal, like, wanting to die, or I had just overdosed or something. But it's like in my family, and I used to be like this too, so I feel almost hypocritical saying it, but in my family, it's like everybody for themselves. Each person for him or herself. Like, if my mom can't handle it, she won't try to bear it for my sake. She just doesn't handle it. If my sister thinks that, oh, you're so coddled in the hospital, if you're gonna get hospitalized this much, or if you're going to go into the hospital this much, as if it was my choice. As if, you know, I can fucking decide to have a psychiatrist certify me into a ward, which was the last time. That's what happened the last time that I went to the hospital. I was decertified like 2 days later, but still, you know, like it was my fucking fault that I was suicidal and I was going to kill myself if I left there. Like, that's all, you know, it's not my fucking fault. Like, why don't they get it? Why? And it makes me feel awful. Like, not only about myself, but then, you know, I'm just reminded how shitty my relationship is with all of them, and that it's probably never going to improve. Because my social worker at Emmanuel House offered time and time again, you know, do you want your mother to come in? We can have a session, your mother can come in. We can have a session with your parents, and I would always say, no, we can't do that. And it would be kind of like, why? And I'm just like, you know, they don't want to have this conversation. And I'm afraid if we have this conversation, it's going to ruin what little relationship we have and destroy everything. And as shitty as the relationship may be, at least it's not nothing. Not totally nothing. If it was totally nothing by not my choice, you know, it might destroy me a little bit more, and I'm not sure I can handle that. Now, meanwhile, my sister's been doing some really fucking stupid shit regarding, like, Facebook and this and that. And I'm half thinking about disowning all of them anyway, because I'm fucking sick of this bullshit that my sister pulls. I'm sick of her being passive aggressive and doing shit and not telling me, and then I find out afterwards, and she's like she put me on her restricted filter. And if you don't know Facebook very well, restricted filter means the only thing I can see on her entire profile is anything she makes public, which is almost nothing. A few pictures, nothing else. So I go to her profile, you know, yesterday, and there's like nothing there, and I'm like, and I looked at it and I said, this is too specific to be a mistake. She did this deliberately. And then I was playing around with my restricted filter later on, and I figured out YMO, that was what she did, because I checked and every post that I could see was public. And I said, what the fuck made her do that? You know, I was hurt, I was upset, I was angry as fucking hell. And she's like, you know, you don't let me see everything either. Even Dad can see more than I can. And I'm like, what? Because, first of all, she sees everything Dad sees. The only filter that I have that she's not on is something that my father is also not on, for one thing. It's only one filter. I probably have other filters she couldn't see, but I don't use them. You know what I mean? Like, and if she's filtered from something Dad would be, obviously. So, like, she can see everything Dad can, so I don't know what the fuck she's on about. Like, I don't know. Like, she didn't even bother to check her Facebook to see if it was faulty. She didn't check her phone to see if maybe that was screwed up. Like, I don't know, did she even go online and go to my main page and see what she could see? And these pictures that I know my dad shows my mom, pictures on the iPhone, like, of stuff that I've posted. Did she even bother to fucking check my main page and see, oh, hey, Carolyn actually did post that, and I can actually see it now? She assumed that I blocked her from shit, even though I told her the only thing you can't see is this filter. I told her point blank, and I said, I'm not going to let you on filter. But apparently, she thinks this filter somehow wouldn't include my father, even though I told her it's only, like, people on the internet and people who really understand mental illness. Does she fucking think my father understands? My father is out of the three of them, the most disappointing to me because he should be the one that understands, and it's why it hurts more when he doesn't, because he doesn't. Like, he worked with challenging needs for years and years and years, and he's used to, people who have problems who it was caused by their genetics or by their birth. Like, it was there from birth. It's a brain thing. They can't change it. And here I am with an emotional disorder, so I might get one way, but if something happens, I can flip to being another way. And so he sees that as me not really being sick, me just looking for attention or something. Like, he doesn't understand borderline personality disorder, clearly. And all the psychiatrists, way back in 2006, who saw me, they always believed the worst ones. The ones who said the things that did not mesh with my own experience whatsoever. They always believed those psychiatrists, and I never believed the ones who actually got it a little bit. None of them really got it fully. But, like, I honestly just feel like disowning them all. Because all this does is hurt me. Like, I'm sorry, but Facebook's kind of a big deal. When you cut your own full-blooded sister who you lived with all your childhood, when you cut her off from everything you post, that is kind of a big deal. It's kind of like if she had a blog and she suddenly made it all private and I couldn't get into it. Same thing. But everybody else can see it, just me. Just me can't. And that's not supposed to make me angry. I'm supposed to be, happy about it? Like, what the fuck does she think she's, what is she on? Like, I don't know why this makes sense to her. What's even fucking logical about it? She thinks that there are things that Dad can see, so she puts me on restricted, which is the worst, the most filtered you can have a person and still remain their friend. Basically means they see little to nothing that you post at all. And she thinks that this is somehow justified. She thinks that she doesn't have to bother checking Facebook because obviously it would be on her phone if it was on Dad's phone. Meanwhile, she has like all these friends that Dad doesn't have, so on her feed, that shit wouldn't show up like it shows up on Dad's feed. Dad doesn't have nearly as many friends. More of my things would show up in his feed because of that reason. Like, she doesn't understand the basic concepts of Facebook and how they post stuff. And she doesn't care to know. She just wants to blame me. Why? Why did she blame me for being hospitalized? All I asked her, she was already going to my house to feed the cat. She was at my house. The hospital could have easily been on her way back home. Because, she could have driven there and then gone on the highway and gone back home very quickly. And yet, she refused to bring me, like, a couple things to Diet Pepsi. That's all I asked her for. She said, no, you know what? If people coddle you too much in the hospital, they give you everything you want. If you're going to go in there so often, maybe you should actually just eat their food and drink. Like, I can't even believe she said that, first of all. Coddled, pampered. And I said to her, if this was our aunt who's been in and out of hospital for cancer treatments, bowel surgeries, if this was our aunt in the hospital, you wouldn't hesitate to bring her anything she asked for. And she was like, oh, but she's not in hospital as often as you. And I'm like, as if I can fucking help that. What if I had cystic fibrosis? I bet you she'd bring me things in the hospital every fucking time I landed in there. And CF patients are in the hospital a lot, some of them. A lot. Because that was a physical illness that I didn't cause myself. That she knows that I didn't cause myself. She would be more supportive of me if I had that. Like, they don't get mental illness. She doesn't get mental illness. And I shouldn't have to be upset by this shit. If I just disown them, they could get on with their lives. They wouldn't have to worry about me. They wouldn't have to fucking think about me. They wouldn't have to block me on Facebook. They wouldn't have to never talk to me and then ask, oh, you haven't talked to me in ages and this is the first thing you said. And I'm like, conversations are two ways, bitch. You need two people for a conversation. She could just as easily have messaged me. Did she? No. Then she blames me because she doesn't like what she hears when I message her because she fucking blocked me from everything. Fuck you. You're a little fucking bitch. Snot rag is what I've been calling her. She's a fucking snot. Everything gotta be her way. She's so, like, uppity and, like, convinced she's right about everything, which, you know, is a fault of mine too. I admit that. But she's, like, bullheadedly stubborn. Like, you can't convince her of shit. And she's much more aggressive than I am, like, in verbal interactions. Now, mind you, I can be aggressive lately, but I don't like to be. I only get aggressive if I'm mad. And even then, I have to feel like I'm actually justified in being aggressive. My usual, my overwhelmingly domineering trait is being passive. It has been my whole life. I was a shy child. I thought I had to be passive and quiet about everything. That's how I grew up. I grew up passive aggressive too because when you have a mother who controls you in the most subtle and manipulative ways, you have to be equally subtle and manipulative to get what you want. Or else she's going to see right through you, And my mother's a smart woman, so it took brains to fool her, or to get her to do what I wanted when she didn't want to, My shoulder hurts, I'm sick of this shit, so bye-bye video, and whatever.